Well, hello everyone. Hey, this is Doug Wilkerson with Central Christian Center and Saturday Night Live Life Recovery Ministry here in Joplin. We're so glad that you're here with us. Thank you for being here and joining us here at an encouraging word with Doug. Hey, today's title that I'm going to be sharing with you is How to Find Your Way Through the Minefield of Life. Well, hopefully I'm on there. I can't. But so, have you ever been in a situation in life, because this life is messy? There are all kinds of messy things going on, difficulties, and let's see. Yeah, all right. Excuse me on that. I know you're not supposed to do that on, but I'm kind of trying to navigate this by myself, and so trying to make sure. So anyway, enough said with that. But anyway, life is messy and hectic. There's a lot of things going on, and today we're talking about trying to navigate our life through this minefield. Oftentimes, when I'm talking with folks, I talk to them about trying to find your way through a minefield blindfolded, and the way you do that is very carefully. And so today we're going to follow up with what we talked about last week about the eight dimensions of life, and these dimensions that we're talking about, or we could call them principles or patterns, or beliefs of things that are in our life that the better that we're able to have an idea, a concept of these different dimensions and how they're working in our life. And by the way, when I go through these here in a few minutes, you might want to grade yourself or evaluate yourself, maybe is better, easier word, from 0 to 10, 10 being I've got a pretty good handle on this. 0 meaning I don't have a clue in this area. That if you see where you're at in things, you can't adjust until you recognize where you're at. And the first step of all recovery is becoming aware. And so we have to become aware of where we're at so that we're able to seek to understand what's going on, seek and find the information that we need, or begin to take the information we have and begin to apply it and develop it and work it into our lives and create some new healthy patterns to help us to create a better life. So thanks for being here with us. It's been said multiple times that small decisions equal big results. And you might think about that and say, well, how can small decisions equal big results? Because it's the little things in life that really add up. Sometimes we don't pay any attention to the little things. And those, it's a little one here, a little one there. Or you could even go on the negative and talk about little mistakes or lies or deceptions, and those things add up to big results, whether it's moving in the positive or in the negative. So So how to find these paths or patterns in life, because in a ordered world, which God has created order, we humans have altered a lot of that order, but he's trying to work in us to help us establish order in this world. I believe that to be so. We talked about that specifically last week. And so as we learn to recognize these patterns and these pathways, then we're able to stay within those patterns or walk in those pathways. You know, if you've ever had a guide, or you've seen guides on TV or country Western shows with guides or Indian guides, that were able to see paths of things or way that people had walked, that they're able to recognize things that you're not able to see. And that's because you aren't aware. You're not able to see. You don't have the focus to recognize the same signs that they can recognize. And so what we need to do is we need to become more aware of these patterns so that we can implement them in our lives. We need to recognize the unhealthy or sick patterns that we may have or that others may have, that we can recognize them so that we can hopefully alter those patterns in ourselves. And if others come to us, that we're able to recognize them and assist them if they ask for help, to help them to be able to see those same patterns themselves, the unhealthy ones, and also the healthy ones, because oftentimes we see things, but we don't know what they mean. So anyway, we're going to be talking about that today, and we're going to be talking about eight different dimensions of life, which we touched on last week. And there are other researchers that say, well, no, there's 3, there's 5, there's 6, there's 7, 8, 12. You know, so there's you can break them down in multiple different ways. And you know, it's been said that the 10 Commandments, that we can either live the 10 Commandments and line our lives up with the 10 Commandments, or choose not to line up our lives, because they say you can't break the 10 Commandments, because if you don't line up with them, basically they'll break you, because they're fundamental life patterns, and there are those patterns in life. And if we can find them, if we can be on the path, some of the time, most of the time, it would be nice if it could be on it all the time, and maybe we can, to be able to have those good things in our life. You know people, I'm sure you're not one of them, but you know people that they want life to go the way they want it to go, no matter what. It has to change to suit them. You know those people, right? And how does life usually work out for them? It's not working out so good, okay? Because that's not the way that it is, okay? Yes, we can affect things in our life positively or negatively, but we need to recognize that there are some things that we just have to recognize and line up with. And as I've said many times, but this just popped in my head just now, Viktor Frankl said, if you find yourself in a situation that you cannot change, then you have to change yourself. And that's where we're at, okay? So we were talking about 8 dimensions, but as I was thinking about this again, as I was preparing, I was thinking about Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And he's got 5 hierarchy of needs that he has down here. I'm going to show you a little quick picture. Kind of gives you an idea of the triangle that we have, that he's he laid out, and also, yes, I think according to what I understand, in his later years, he actually even added on some more levels. But most of the time, he's known for the 5 hierarchy of needs. And I don't want to go through them all today, even though it's really good information. But as I was thinking about this, is the 2 bottom levels. The 2 bottom levels, they refer to it as the basic needs. Okay, the bottom level of that pyramid is physiological, and that is the what we need for food, for water, for warmth, for rest. The physiological needs for survival. That's the key word, is for survival, because you first have to survive before you can ever thrive. Okay, so we have to be able to survive. So we got to get those needs met. And here, particularly in the United States, a lot. We're raised by families, and they help us with those needs, or not just they take care of them, those needs primarily to help us to survive. And then the next level is the security needs, to provide security and safety, shelter, and that again is the base needs of survival. Level 1, level 2. Okay. The next level is love and belonging. That's level 3. And yes, it's very important, but love and belonging, even though it is extremely important, we will be addressing that in some of the 8 dimensions. But according to Maslow, that's loving, belonging, and meeting our love needs are so important to us. But that, if you don't survive, then that's not very important. Although there are some research that says without meeting some of those love needs, according to some research they did with babies, that if they didn't have love and attention right off the bat, they weren't able to survive or thrive. So last week I talked about how to get your life from disorder to order. And I mentioned that there's a lot of people that want to live a disordered life, but they want the benefits of an ordered life. And that just doesn't work out. Okay. You might be able to skirt along the edges a little bit, but the fact of it is, long run, it won't happen. So what we want to do is I'm going to mention these 8 things as I did last week. You can see it like a circle or like a wheel, and with 8 divisions in it, with each one of these in one of those little pie shapes. And each one of those are important. Okay. Are they as equally important? Well, it really depends on who you talk to. Okay. But the fact of it is, to have a well-balanced life, these different areas really need to be addressed. Now, if your wheel is little, so to speak, and you don't have much of anything, all right, and so if it's even balanced, even if it's balanced at 2 or 3 or 4, you're on the bottom side of that. But if it's balanced out, I think that's a whole lot better than a lopsided wheel. Now, rest of the story is, sometimes to work on these things, you have to be focused in one particular area for a little bit to be able to grow it or develop it, and then you move from area to areas. I kind of look at it in the sense like a balloon. You're blowing it up and you're trying to stretch it out, and you kind of go from side to side to try to expand that and to bring it out. Expand your stability in life, if you will. All right. So just take a look at these 8 things, maybe grade them from 0 to 10, see where you're at if you're interested. And as again, don't be too hard on yourself. The first step is to become aware. And all this information and everything I try to do is not to try to hurt you or harm you, but it's about to try to inform you and help you. Okay. The first one is friends. And friends, they got friends as number 1, family as number 2. You're able to select your friends, your family. Oftentimes in family of orientation, you get them. But sometimes your family of orientation doesn't work out well, or something happens, or they're not able to be there, or they're very dysfunctional, or whatever the case may be. And then sometimes you have to look at surrogate family, okay, to help fill in those voids, and that's doable. And that has to happen often. And so you have family and friends. Family's 1, friends is 2. And as it said, our sanity is really shared with the people that's around us. People help us with our ability to regulate ourselves mentally and emotionally, because they're there to help, bring our attention to the things that we need to adjust, to modify, regulate, and to help us to develop that ability to be able to be interactive socially with others, because that's a skill that we have to learn. And right now in COVID time, they're telling us that we need to be socially distanced from everyone. So that kind of eliminates a lot of social interaction and the development of those social interactive skills. Number 3 is intimate relationships, and those are those relationships that's not just a marital, but it can be and it should be. But there are other intimate relationships that you can build. These relationships, these bonds, there's levels of intimacy, but those are basically, intimacy is here where you're able to share more openly and freely. There's a give and take in that relationship. It's safe and trusting, okay? And those are 2 very important qualities: safe and trusting, that you're able to be able to share. And without that, it's you are deficient in in a big dimension of our life. Now, I know we don't like that. Most of us just like to be alone and secluded, isolated, but the old story goes, if you stay hidden in the cave long enough, you're going to get hungry, because there's not much in there to feed you physically, and there's nothing in there to feed you emotionally. And when you come out, you're starved physically and emotionally, and you'll eat physically anything that's there, or emotionally grab a hold of anything that might be there. And what you grab a hold of, whether it's physically or emotionally, might not be too good for you. But you are deprived in being able to make healthy judgment calls. Okay. So we need to develop intimate relationships that helps us. In fact, I heard a study from that they did a study that's been running 70, 75 years, maybe more than that now. They did a survey with the men in the students, the boys they called them, of Harvard, and there was several hundred that they interviewed back in the 30s, if I remember correctly. And they asked them what they want, what their goal was, and it was to make money or to have fame. But they found out that the number one beneficial attribute that people were able to have that helped them cognitively, mentally, to be healthy and well, and also socially stable, was to have a close, intimate relationship, even up into their 80s. And so relationships, intimate relationships, make us healthier, mentally, physically, in every area, according to the Harvard study. And they're still doing it. They're going to multiple generations to see how that works out. Number 4, the employment. Employment, you have to do something. And because if you're not doing something, whether it's employment or volunteer, you have to have a purpose. You have to have some sort of involvement to be able to feel that you are able to contribute. We are on this world to not just be takers, because that's hollow, that's empty, just to be a taker. And it's to be a giver, to a provider, something you can do for somebody else. And one of the best ways to deal with sometimes our own particular dysfunction is to find somebody to help. A few weeks ago, I talked about being kind, and I heard a statement just recently that it's harder to learn to be kind than it is to be clever. And so we need to learn to be kind and be giving, and that could be your purpose. It could change the life of people. And I've heard many stories. I'm not going to go into them, but how someone just saying, "How you doing? How's your day?" It makes a difference. You can make a difference out there. In fact, you're probably supposed to. All right, number 5, educational and intellectual. We need to continue to develop either educationally. You don't have to go into academia and continue to work on higher degrees, but if that is where you're at, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I might say, but you need to find avenues to be able to use that information and to be able to use that platform you get to help others in a beneficial and healthy way. And or intellectually, you can grow. I mean, with YouTube here, there are tons of information, and I get so much information out of so many different ones. I listen to all kinds of different people on YouTube to get information, from spiritual teachers to scientists in all different areas. To help me to gain the perspective of what God is doing in the universe, because God created this. And as Dr. Carolyn Leaf, has said, which is a Christian neuroscientist, she says that science is actually the story of God. Okay, trying and to help us to understand what God has done, because you just think about what He has done, what He has put together. Just think about it. That it's not an accident. So, number 6, you need to take care of your mental health and your physical health. And we know about physical health and how important that is. It's talked about continually, which is important. We need to address that. And but our mental health is that we need to take care of ourselves mentally, and that means we need to And they're finding out this even more and more about we need to spend time addressing our mental health, which / spiritual health, which we'll talk about spiritual here in a minute. But through one of the main ways is to manage our stress. And the way, as I've said before, Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar, which was a lecturer actually a professor at Harvard too, he said that it's not stress that's killing us, but it's the recovery from stress. And that means you have to find healthy, appropriate ways to recover from stress. And because stress is not all bad, okay? But if we don't recover from it, it will take a toll on us. So we need to take care of our mental health, and that's from doing things that will help us mentally. That's also relaxation. That is also sleep, because sleep is very important for our brain. Because actually, you've heard of brainwashing. You wash your brain. If you get the proper amount of sleep at night, you actually wash your brain. And so to get the impurities out, we need to take care of ourselves mentally. Okay, all right, and physically. Number 7, I think this is really really good, and that is your response to temptations like drugs, alcohol, pornography, gambling, sex, cutting, rage, you name it. Okay, just all it's endless. Okay, that oftentimes they use the word temptation here. Oftentimes we have used these systems to try to help us to cope with the overwhelmed feeling that we were having, to help us to survive through the moment, to escape the moment, to numb out from the moment, to to shift our attention from the moment, to hide or disappear or withdraw or feel powerful or safe or whatever that we were trying to do here. And the fact of it is that was a survival mechanism most of the time. And what we have to do is we have to be aware that those temptations, those pulls, because if it worked, then I talked about Abraham Maslow a while ago. He has a statement that says, if you think every problem, if the only tool you have is a hammer, then you think every problem is a nail. And so you use your coping mechanism, like a hammer, on everything. And the fact of it is, it doesn't work on everything, like a hammer doesn't work on everything. So we have to address our temptations, because if we're not careful, those things that maybe and very possibly helped us a little bit there in the beginning, now is working against us, because that temptation has drawn you away and it's starting to bring death in your life, because it's controlling you, because you're not in control of it. You don't know if you're addicted, if it's something that's controlling you, if you can't live without it, if you got to have it, if you wake up thinking about it, or you drive home from work and you're thinking about it, maybe you've got an issue. Okay. All right. Let's go to the last one. Number 8, spiritual well-being. We really need to, spiritual really seeks into almost all of these areas that as we develop these belief systems, that we have values, we have principles that help us to guide our life. If you don't have those, it's kind of like if you don't have those things in your life, then you don't It's like not having a steering wheel on your car or a rudder on a boat. You're going to go wherever the situation or the wind blows you. And being spiritual means that you're connected to that's inside of you, and you have a spirit inside of you. And oftentimes we deny it, where we lose touch with that in an early age. It's always there. You always knew it was. If you really look down in it, you'll know it. And we really need to enhance our sensitivity to that spirit part of us. Some would call it intuition. Some would call it knowing. It's all connected to the same thing. It's all connected to that source that God provides for us, because He said He would lead us and guide us in all truth, and He will. I've had people come to me many times and say, they've asked me, well, just tell me what to do. And I said, what you need to do is you need to listen to what your spirit's telling you. Well, I just want to know what to do. See, the rest of the story here is, I'm going to cut it down because I'm about to run out of time. We need to listen to this. We need to listen to our heart, if we want to call that. Our spirit, what if you want to call that, our gut, if you want to call it that. That we listen to it, because it's there trying to help us to know where we're going to go. And how do you learn that? I remember a man called Billy Bob Cass that I visited with him about being able to learn how to do that. And he says, well, it's trial and error. And when you know you've missed it, then you just adjust. And that means we all make mistakes. But the fact of it is, it's just like anything we practice, whether it's shooting at a target or shooting a basketball at the hoop or whatever it is. We don't start off hitting it dead center, but if we keep working on it, we get closer and closer to where we want to go. Spiritually, that's what our desire is, to come into that connection where we're in that alignment that I talked about a while ago about the 10 Commandments. As we align ourselves, we align our heart, our mind, our soul in connection with God, then we're more apt to be in tune with Him and more apt to be able to hear the instructions that He wants for us, because He wants to be a part of our life and to help us. Okay? So hopefully this is a blessing to you. I want to read this last line. It says, the spiritually well person seeks harmony between what lies within as well as the forces that lie without. If we allow ourselves to be attuned or lined up, brought into that place where we are better tuned with in the spiritual realm, then we're more apt to be able to affect everything, all the forces outside. That's exactly what Jesus did. If you look at His life, and when He got troubled, He went to get Himself lined up spiritually with His Father, so that He could do the next job, and that's to affect those around Him. Thanks for listening today. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May His face shine upon you and give you His peace. Until next time, take care of yourself, and I do appreciate you listening. Have a good day and have a good life.
still thirst for.